There was a German shepherd named Rex, so aggressive that even the shelter staff would keep their distance, afraid to approach his cage. His story was one of abandonment, fear, and unimaginable trauma. Many believed he was beyond saving, convinced that his aggression was too deeply ingrained. But then, one woman saw something others had missed. Elise, a trauma therapist, didn't see Rex as the snarling, unpredictable dog everyone else feared. She saw a broken soul, a heart so scarred that it built walls of defense to protect itself from the world. Rex had been chained in an abandoned property, left to fend for himself, and used as a guard dog by people who had no understanding of what true compassion meant. When Elise walked into the shelter, she was warned, "Don't go near him. He's dangerous." But where others saw a threat, Elise saw a chance, an opportunity to break through the fear that held Rex captive. Her journey with him would transform not only his life, but her own. Slowly, carefully, and without rushing, Elise would show Rex that there was more to the world than the pain he had endured. This is the story of how one woman, with patience, understanding, and unwavering compassion, unlocked the true potential of a dog who had been written off as lost forever. It's a reminder that sometimes, healing begins not with force or control, but with the quiet power of trust and love. Stay with us to see how Rex went from a broken, aggressive dog to a beloved companion, and how one act of kindness can change a life forever. Welcome to Acts of Kindness Stories. At first glance, Rex seemed like a lost cause. His snarls echoed off the walls of his kennel, and the air was thick with the tension of a dog that had clearly been broken by a world that didn't care. His amber eyes were wide and unblinking, scanning every movement with an intensity that seemed to pierce through anyone who dared to come close. Even the shelter staff, who were accustomed to difficult dogs, kept their distance. They feared him. For 8 months, Rex had lived in that cage. 8 long months of being misunderstood. His trauma buried so deep that no one could get close enough to offer comfort or healing. The shelter manager, Megan, had witnessed the failed attempts. Trainers, behaviorists, and medications had all come and gone, each one leaving in defeat. Rex's aggression was more than just a defense mechanism. It was a reflex born from years of suffering, of betrayal, of being used as a weapon for people who never cared to show him kindness. "He's not adoptable," the shelter staff had said. "He's too dangerous." In their eyes, Rex was beyond saving. To them, he was just a ticking time bomb, and the best thing they could do was let him go before someone got hurt. But when Elise, a trauma therapist, walked through the shelter doors, she saw something entirely different. She didn't see a wild animal or a violent dog. She saw fear, and more importantly, she saw the possibility for healing. Elise had worked with traumatized humans for years, so when she looked at Rex, she didn't just see aggression. She saw the scars, both visible and invisible, that had shaped his behavior. She knew that Rex wasn't a dog who just liked to fight. He was a dog who had been abused, abandoned, and left to fend for himself in a world that had shown him no mercy. His aggression wasn't a sign of dominance or bad behavior. It was a survival instinct, a defense against everything he had endured. After hearing the staff's warnings about Rex's history and behavior, Elise quietly approached his kennel. She knelt down and simply watched him, giving him space to observe her, to decide if he felt safe enough to trust her. It wasn't about fixing him in that moment. It was about creating a space where trust could begin to grow. Megan, the shelter manager, was skeptical. She had seen countless failed attempts to rehabilitate Rex, and she didn't want to see Elise set herself up for disappointment. But Elise was undeterred. "I think we can help him," she said gently. And with that, the journey of healing began. The next day, Elise returned to the shelter, this time with no agenda other than to be present. She sat cross-legged on the floor outside Rex's kennel, reading aloud to him in a soft, monotone voice. She wasn't speaking to him, not directly. She was simply existing in his space, offering him her presence without the expectation of a response. For 20 minutes, she read. And though Rex's body was still tense, something began to shift. His growling subsided. His posture softened just slightly. Elise didn't push him. She simply showed up. She didn't demand anything from him, not even eye contact. She just offered him calmness and space, and for the first time in a long while, Rex didn't feel the need to protect himself from the world around him. When Elise left that day, Rex's eyes followed her, not with hostility, but with curiosity. He moved slightly forward from his corner, just a little. A subtle change, but one that spoke volumes. Elise had given him a glimpse of something different, something safe. It wasn't much, but it was a start. At the shelter's board meeting that week, Dr. Harris, the shelter veterinarian, pushed back hard against Elise's request to adopt Rex. "That dog is dangerous," he said firmly. "He needs to be in a specialized facility, not someone's home." He believed that Rex was too far gone to ever be safe in a regular household. Elise understood his concerns, but she also knew that Rex's aggression wasn't a sign of an unmanageable dog. It was the result of trauma. With the right approach, she believed Rex could heal. "I know it's going to take time," Elise said calmly, "but I'm willing to work with him. I have the experience and I understand trauma. He doesn't need a cage. He needs someone who understands that he's not dangerous. He's just scared." Despite her quiet confidence, the board members hesitated. They were torn between the possibility of success and the risk of failure. Megan, who had been skeptical at first, spoke up. "I've seen her interact with him," she said. "There's something there. I don't know what it is, but it's something different." The board voted, and Elise's application was approved, 4-3 with conditions. She would need to work with a trainer and send weekly progress reports for the first 3 months. If there was any incident, Rex would be returned to the shelter. Elise signed the paperwork and left the shelter with Rex, ready to begin the next chapter of their journey. But the road ahead wasn't going to be easy. The first major hurdle came when they tried to get Rex into the car. He refused to enter the crate, growling and backing away. It took several people to help secure a temporary partition in Elise's SUV, but even then, Rex was agitated. The 30-minute drive home was filled with anxious panting and occasional growls. Rex was clearly terrified. Every movement seemed to be a reminder of the pain he had suffered in the past. When they arrived at Elise's farmhouse, Rex was reluctant to leave the car. Elise knew that rushing him wouldn't help, so she went inside first, leaving the doors open so Rex could see her and feel safe. For 20 minutes, Rex stayed in the car, watching Elise with wide, fearful eyes. But eventually he stepped out, moving at his own pace and keeping his distance. Elise didn't try to touch him. She let him explore at his own speed. Inside the house, Elise had prepared a safe space for Rex, a crate with the door removed, positioned in the corner of the living room so he could see the entire room. She removed anything that might startle him, creating a space that felt secure. It was a slow start, but over the next few weeks, Rex began to adjust. He started to eat while Elise was in the room, though he still maintained a significant distance. He slept more, his hypervigilance gradually decreasing. But he still wasn't ready to trust. Marcus, the trainer assigned by the shelter, visited weekly. He was a burly man with years of experience rehabilitating aggressive dogs, but he didn't fully understand Elise's approach. He was focused on establishing dominance, trying to force Rex into submission. Elise disagreed. She knew that forcing Rex would only reinforce his fears. What Rex needed wasn't control, it was cooperation, a chance to feel safe and in control of his own space. It wasn't easy. Elise and Marcus had their differences. He insisted that Rex needed to be taught who was in charge, but Elise believed that Rex needed to learn trust, not submission. She stuck to her approach, showing up consistently with patience and care, giving Rex the space he needed to come to her in his own time. Then, one evening, something remarkable happened. Rex, who had been pacing nervously, suddenly lunged at Elise with a deep growl, teeth bared. Elise froze, her heart racing. But she didn't retreat. She stood her ground, her voice calm but firm. "It's okay, Rex," she said softly. "I'm just opening the door." Rex bolted outside, circling the yard before squatting to relieve himself. Elise realized something important that night. Rex had never meant to attack her. His aggression was a warning, not a threat. He wasn't trying to bite. He was trying to communicate. And in that moment, Elise understood that the next step was teaching him how to communicate his needs without fear. The following day, Elise set up a bell system by the door. She wanted to teach Rex to signal when he needed to go outside. It was a small step, but it was one of the first signs that Rex was beginning to trust Elise, to believe that the world around him was safe. In the months that followed, Rex continued to make progress, though slowly. He still didn't want physical contact. If Elise moved too quickly or came too close, he would retreat, his fear flaring up again. But each day they took small steps forward. Each inch of progress was a victory. Marcus, who had initially been skeptical, began to see the change. One day, he observed as Elise moved Rex's food bowl closer to her position, and Rex, instead of retreating, approached cautiously, maintaining eye contact. For the first time, Rex had crossed a threshold. The distance between them was narrowing. It wasn't long before Elise noticed that Rex had begun initiating small moments of contact. He would lean against her leg while she worked at her desk, or place his head near her hand, just inches away. It was subtle, but it was a breakthrough. Elise was careful not to rush him, respecting his boundaries while also celebrating these small victories. One crisp autumn morning, the first snow of the season arrived, and Rex's reaction was one Elise had never seen before. He bounded through the snow, tossing it into the air with joy, his body finally at ease. It was as if a new side of Rex had been unlocked, a playful spirit that had been buried under years of pain. As winter deepened, their routine expanded. Rex began to walk calmly on a leash, his confidence growing as they explored the nearby nature preserve. The quiet trails were the perfect place for Rex to practice his new skills, and one day, something incredible happened. Rex, who had always been cautious around others, suddenly darted into the underbrush with a bark. Elise followed the sound and found him standing over a young woman who had collapsed in the snow. Rex had found her, and he was trying to get Elise's attention to help. Elise called emergency services, and together they waited for help to arrive. Despite the unfamiliar men approaching, Rex stood his ground, a protective instinct emerging that Elise had never seen before. That day, Rex proved that even in his fear, he had the capacity for courage, for loyalty, and for love. And as their journey continued, Elise and Rex grew closer. The dog who had once been feared and written off as dangerous was becoming the dog Elise had always known he could be. And through her patience, understanding, and unwavering love, Rex had found his place in the world, not as a broken animal, but as a beloved companion. Every step of the way, Rex proved that healing is possible, even for the most broken spirits. And it all started with one person who saw past the fear, who believed in a dog who had no reason to trust, and who showed him the world he had never known, a world of kindness, safety, and love. Months passed, and the transformation in Rex was undeniable. The dog who had once been feared and misunderstood was slowly becoming a new version of himself, a dog who could trust again, who could play, and who could love. Elise's patience had paid off. It wasn't a perfect journey, and there were setbacks along the way, but the steady progress Rex made was nothing short of miraculous. Their daily walks became more than just a routine. They were a shared experience, a bond that grew deeper with each passing day. Rex, once afraid to approach anyone but Elise, had begun to trust in the safety of the world around him. And Elise, in turn, had learned that love and understanding could create a profound impact, not just on a dog, but on herself as well. She wasn't just giving Rex a second chance. She was giving herself one too. As winter turned to spring, the invisible barriers that had once kept Rex locked in fear began to disappear. He would follow Elise around the house, not just as her companion, but as her protector, his loyalty shining through in moments when she least expected it. In the past, he had been a dog of pure defense, lashing out at everything that caused him discomfort. But now he had learned to take comfort in her presence, a presence that had never wavered, even in the darkest of times. The day came when Elise was invited back to the shelter where it all began. She and Rex stood in the parking lot, the shelter looming in the distance. As they approached the doors, Rex's behavior was noticeably different. His once intense, defensive posture had softened. He walked beside Elise not out of fear but out of trust that had been earned one small step at a time. The shelter staff, who had once believed Rex was beyond saving, stood in awe as they watched him calmly walk through the doors, no longer the snarling, aggressive dog they had once known. Inside, Elise spoke to a group of potential adopters, sharing her journey with Rex. She explained how she had come to understand his fear, how she had recognized that his aggression was simply a shield he had built to protect himself. And most importantly, she shared how she had learned that sometimes the most broken hearts just need time, patience, and someone who believes in them. As she spoke, Rex lay beside her, quietly observing the room. His eyes, once filled with fear and distrust, now shone with a calmness that spoke volumes. He wasn't just Elise's dog anymore. He had become a symbol of the power of kindness, of the ability to heal even the most deeply wounded spirits. After the talk, a woman in the back of the room raised her hand. "I have a dog at home who's afraid of strangers and has been here for months. Do you think he could be helped too?" Elise smiled softly, her heart full. "Every dog is different," she said. "But yes, with the right person and approach, remarkable transformations are possible." That moment encapsulated everything Elise had worked for, the belief that no animal, no matter how broken, was beyond saving. With time, care, and love, even the deepest wounds could heal. As they left the shelter that day, Rex walked proudly beside Elise, his head held high. He had found his place, his person, and his peace. It was a journey that had started with fear and mistrust, but had ended with a bond that could never be broken. Now, Rex's story serves as a powerful reminder that behind every act of aggression is a story of pain and fear waiting to be understood. It reminds us that love is the most healing force there is, and sometimes, all it takes is someone willing to see the potential in something, or someone others have already given up on. If Rex's journey touched your heart, if you believe in second chances, in the power of kindness and patience, then we encourage you to like, share, and comment below. Let us know how you've experienced similar moments of transformation, or share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to Acts of Kindness Stories as we continue to share these incredible, heartwarming tales of hope, change, and the power of understanding. We are so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers, and we need your support to get there. Join us in spreading the message that kindness, no matter how small, can make a world of difference. Thank you for being part of this journey, for showing up for Rex, and for believing that every story, no matter how difficult, can have a happy ending. Let's keep sharing hope one story at a time.